Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. For the third consecutive day on Thursday, the Congress disrupted Parliament over alleged politics of vengeance by the BJP-led government. So far, the Congress has not found much support except from the Tribune Congress. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi reiterated his party stand, saying that the case was 100% political vendetta coming out of the Prime Minister's office. Is there a political vendetta, or does the court have a merits to the case? That's what we're going to try and debate on the big picture today. Joining me on the program are Rajeev Gowda, spokesperson of the Congress. Also with me is Sambit Patra, national spokesperson of the BJP, KTS Tulsi, senior advocate of the Supreme Court and a Rajya Sabha MP, as well as we'll also be joined by KV Prasad, associate editor of the Tribune, a senior journalist on the program. Professor Gowda, I'd like to start with you. I'd like to quote something that the Honorable Chairman in the Rajya Sabha said. He, in fact, asked this question in the House, and I'm going to ask you the same question. Why are you agitating?
Frank, there are two issues that you've raised here. One is in the context of the National Herald case. That is a case that is being fought in a courtroom, and this whole discussion, our agitation, has nothing to do with the specifics of that particular case. What we are protesting against is a pattern of political vendetta that has emerged over the last few months. And that really, you can see that in the context of what Mr. Kharge said in the Lok Sabha: one law for the BJP, one law for people in the opposition. What do I mean by this? Let me articulate that. Essentially, in this case itself, there has been a letter from Subramaniam Swamy to the Prime Minister asking for the enforcement director to be removed and replaced when that enforcement director, director Mr. Katoch, had closed some proceedings that were investigating the National Herald case because it lacked merit. Now, so you have one example of a BJP Central Committee member writing to the PM and then action being taken in terms of removing officials, reopening cases, etc. Clearly smacks of political interference in what should be routine bureaucratic matters. Then, Veerbhadra Singh was raided in the middle of his daughter's wedding. We've had raids against Ashok Gehlot and Sachin Pilot on frivolous grounds. Shankar Singh Waghela. These are just Congress people. You have people in other parties who have also been targeted. You have a case of people like Hardik Patel leading an agitation, being thrown into jail on very serious charges of sedition, which are unfounded. And, or essentially you should not use such harsh measures against people leading agitations. Okay? Now, basically, when you see this pattern, you contrast that with the fact that we were raising issues against Sushma Swaraj and Vasundhara Raje in the Lalit Gate case. We were raising issues against that string of murders that have taken place in Madhya Pradesh under Shivraj Singh Chauhan. And so, in this
Professor
context,
Gowda, are you justifying your actions
no action is taken
in Parliament? Are you justifying your actions? Are your actions in Parliament justified?
Of criminality, even that they need to be charged with, and instead we find a situation, we find a situation where Congress people and people from other opposition parties are being targeted. This is the reason why other parties are also very concerned that if vendetta politics starts like this, today it's the Congress, tomorrow it will be the Trinamool, the day after tomorrow somebody else, and the opposition will be continuously harassed, and and all kinds of governmental machinery will be used to target people to ensure that they are so distracted by legal proceedings that they won't be able to fight in the political battlefield. And the political battlefield is already showing that Modi's effect has waned, if not finished. And we saw that in Delhi, in Bihar, in the Gujarat local elections. So basically, these are desperate measures which point to a clear pattern of political vendetta. That is what we are protesting against.
Okay. Dr. Patra, I'd like to respond to that and respond to two points. Namely, are you indulging in political vendetta? The timing of some of these raids that were carried out are being questioned, and they're saying that the BJP had something to do with some of these raids that were carried out against Veerbhadra Singh, Ashok Gehlot, and several of the other leaders that Professor Gowda mentioned. That is one. Secondly, why was the enforcement director, replaced in August?
When the Congress says that this is all about political vendetta, And when one of their top leaders, Mr. Kapil Sibal, went to the extent of saying that this is the dirty trick departments of the Bharatiya Janata Party trying to do its activities, I would like to ask them whether they are pointing towards the court, because it's the Delhi High Court and before that the Session Court which came out with all this verdict. It was not as if the Prime Minister, and it's not as if in fact the Bharatiya Janata Party was announcing all this, not at all. So if at all today they are saying that this is vendetta, they are obliquely, rather directly pointing fingers towards the judiciary of this country. I have the judgment, the 27-page judgment of the National Herald case with me, the judgment which was pronounced only about 3 days ago, 7th of December. And you would see on 10 different occasions, the court uses the word criminality against the accused. And the accused number 1 is Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. Accused number 2 is Rahul Gandhi. So the word has been used. Criminalities, criminal intent, its max of criminality has been used for the Gandhi family and has been used for the whole affair, which I would call as a National Herald scam. So if at all, if you have any problem, why don't you go and respond on the court of law? Why make noises on the floor of the parliament? If at all you have any problem as far as the raids on Mr. Veerbhadra Singh and other leaders are concerned, if you believe they're not genuine, then as rightly pointed out by Mr. Arun Jaitley about 2 days ago, that why not debate on the floor of parliament? You had certain issues about Sushma Swaraj, you had certain issues about Vasundhara Raje, you wanted a debate. Didn't we open the floors for the debate? We debated. So today, if you feel that in the middle of a marriage a raid was made, I don't understand whether if you are corrupt, how does it matter when the raid was made, whether it was in the initial process of marriage or in the middle of the marriage? How does that take away the charge of corruption? If you have any such case, please debate on the floor of the parliament. The government is ready to place the evidences in front of you. In this National Herald scam, the judgment that has come from the High Court of Delhi has nothing to do with the ED and the ED findings. This was going on since 2012. Let me tell you, why are they crying vendetta today? This case begins in January 2012 when it was their government, it was the Prime Minister of Congress Party, that is Mr. Manmohan Singh. Mr. Subramaniam Swamy was not a Bharatiya Janata Party member. And moreover, if you would take out the press conferences of Congress from the archives, you would see that Mr. P.C. Chako, the then spokesperson of Congress, had went on record to challenge Mr. Subramaniam Swamy that why don't you challenge them in court?
But I don't think the Congress is just pinpointing the National Herald case. They are saying that they're going to fight it in the court and they're going to let the court, let the law take its own course. But they're talking about some of the others, and they're talking about a pattern of how Congress leaders are really being targeted at this moment.
Just 10 seconds. If there was a pattern in corruption where almost every second congressman was corrupt, do you mean to say that they would hijack the parliament and they would say that we would not allow the functioning of the parliament, we will not allow bills to be passed in the parliament just because those who are corrupt are being caught? Okay. What kind of hijacking technique is this?
I'll let Professor Gowda respond to everything that you said, but before that, I'd like to bring in some of my other guests into the program as well. Mr. Tulsi, the Congress saying that there's a different set of rules or different set of laws governing the people in the treasury benches, and there's a different set of laws governing those in the opposition. Do you agree with that?
You see, it certainly seems so, because Mr. Sambit Patra is only trying to hide behind the judgment which is for the courts to decide and act on the basis of that. But in the parliament, the question is if the government, in every case, is going to start with the presumption that every opposition leader is corrupt, and every BJP leader and chief minister, ministers, they are innocent. There is a certain presumption. So they are applying different standards, different laws. That's not how parliament will function. And I'm not saying that. They say debate those issues. The Congress, the debate was, according to Mr. Jaitley, that parliament is not a debating club. Parliament is to settle issues. And certain issues can get lost in the course of debate. The question is, why are they not taking any action, not even initiating action against the Rajasthan Chief Minister, against the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister, against the other ministers who have actively supported and aided and abetted the escape of a person who is fleeing from the Indian authorities? There is another set. They don't want to initiate any action against anybody, whoever is in the BJP, and they don't want to leave out anyone. For example, take this case. The question is, BJP itself is running the papers, newspapers, from the running of which they have claimed losses in their accounts. They have also shown income from their accounts in certain years. They have invested in mutual funds, and whatever profits they have made, those are part of their own balance sheets. They indulge day in and day out in commercial activities with regard to the funds of the BJP political party. But if the Congress has tried to bail out the newspaper which was founded by Jawaharlal Nehru, of which he was the editor, and for which they thought that they need to save the legacy of the freedom movement, and for that purpose, all that is said is, why don't you sell the property? Well, you don't sell your silver to pay the butler. The question was, there were judgments of the courts with regard to the provident fund dues of the employees. There were judgments of courts with regard to payment of arrears of salaries. And over the last 10 years, when National Herald itself could not generate any amount because the Congress government does not believe in helping the newspaper on account of the fact that they are in the government.
All right.
So therefore, if they have paid the money from their political funds, from the funds of the political party, they say this is a huge offense, this is a criminal offense, this is
I know, Dr. Patra, you're itching to comment and
all
you're
that
itching
will be
to,
decided by
get
the
into
courts.
the debate at this
But
point in
there
time
are
because your
double
name was
standards.
taken and you want to respond to some of that. But before that, because I'm going to give you some time to speak, let me bring in KV Prasad as well and, get him into the picture. Mr. Prasad, everything that's happening in Parliament, do you think that is justified? Do you think that the Congress should be doing what it is doing? Number one. Number two, is there a political vendetta against Congress? Is there a pattern that you see against the Congress leaders? And your thoughts on that?
Well, as for the political vendetta aspect of it, I'll leave it to the politicians on the panel to answer that rather than my giving a comment. I would rather restrict myself to what's happening in Parliament. The fact that disruptions are taking place, everybody knows. Is it good for the democracy? Certainly not. Because beyond a point, if you start doing this, because as it is, we are working in this environment where we need to get people on board on issues that need to be understood. But why is this happening? A part of it is being repaid by Congress, what the BJP did in the last 10 years. So unfortunately, it has been continuing. If you look at from 1999 to 2004, the BJP was in the ruling seat. It was heading the coalition government. The moment 2004 came, the tables turned, and again you had this issue of disruptions, frequent, so much. There are many issues. Whether they're correct or incorrect, I'm not going into that issue.
Let's not get into it.
Yeah, it's not that. The question is, this has been happening. Why it is happening? The political parties themselves should look at this. If you're not allowing a house which is meant for debate and discussions, an informed debate is what the country requires on all issues. Well, the people are judging you all the time. I mean, why is it that today that you come to a situation where nobody wants to argue out? I mean, you can defeat me on argument. You can win an argument on that. It's not a court. It's a place where you need to have informed discussion on issues. Let people judge according to the policies and programs and the issues.
And let the courts decide what needs to be done.
Well,
as
that's
far
the
as the law is
jurisdiction of the
concerned,
courts,
yes.
certainly. I mean, their courts are there for that. They're meant for that. If there's a miscarriage of justice or a carriage of justice, whatever, there is ways in which the country has built its mechanisms. There are mechanisms inbuilt in for appeals and whatever it is. So I think beyond the point, it doesn't really augur well.
Two things, Dr. Patra. One, do not debate what's happening in Rajasthan with the Chief Minister there and the Lalit Modi case. Take action against those who have been found guilty is one thing that Mr. Tulsi said. Another thing is that, what KV Prasad is saying is very interesting. The same thing happened when the UPA governments were in power. So the UPA or the Congress is doing the same thing to you now when you're in power.
Let me point by point answer all of them, beginning from what Mr. KTS Tulsi said, that sack the chief ministers and ministers who were discussed previously by your government, like the Rajasthan chief minister's example.
And the foreign minister.
And the foreign minister. Now, let me take up the Rajasthan case first. In the Rajasthan case, Mr. KTS Tulsi and Mr. Rajeev Gowda would remember that since morning 6 a.m. till midnight, they would in fact have gargles after gargles, and they would conduct press conferences after press conferences, saying that the Dholpur Palace belongs to the government of India and it does not belong to the Chief Minister's family. Well, yes, if you had all these
What about
documents...
Lalit Modi?
Just a second, sir.
You can't divert the
Just a second.
discussion.
I was not interjecting. This is no other channel. This is the Rajya Sabha TV. Let's have the decency of debating.
All right.
So if you had all
But
this...
I'm not referring to the palace.
Sir, let me come to Lalit Modi as well.
I never referred to the
Let
palace.
me come to Lalit Modi as well. I'll answer you point by point,
Yes.
sir. Please listen me out. Number one, if you had all those documents of the palace and of Lalit Modi and of the wrongdoings, then the door of the courts are open. You never went to the court. In this particular case of National Herald, it was in 2012, you challenged Mr. Swamy. Why not go to the court? Why have a press conference? He went to the court. 2 subsequent courts have delivered judgment. And Mr. KTS Tulsi, who himself is a celebrated lawyer, has the audacity of calling me, in fact, that Sambit Patra is trying to hide behind judgment. Why should I hide behind a judgment? A judgment is a telling story of truth, sir. Until proved otherwise by a higher court, I would not hide behind a judgment. Rather, I would pronounce a judgment by showing that this is what has been pronounced by the judiciary of this country. Because in this democratic setup set up by Mr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, I believe the judiciary is independent. And if it has said something, I did not hide behind it. I should pronounce that. Now, thirdly, you asked me about BJP running newspapers. Now tell me, which newspapers are BJP running? If you have any proof to the fact that BJP is amassing wealth by wrong commercial means, Mr. Tulsi, if you know all this, why should you not approach the court? You spent most of the time in the court. You as a celebrated citizen should file a PIL tomorrow itself. Why not? Why haven't you done that? This is a misjustice.
No, we'll
Injustice
take you to the court
country.
of the people.
Thirdly, you asked me about application of law. You said that Parliament should see to it that there should be no 2 set of laws. Rather, I believe the statement of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi when she says that, do you know who I am? I am the daughter-in-law of Indira Gandhi. That means that Congress deserved that there should be a second set of law for the first family. How dare! In fact, I was listening to the Chief Minister of Bengal when Mamta Di said that, how can the Gandhi family go to the courts?
What she is saying is that
how can the
you
Gandhi
can't
family go to the
her.
courts? Why? They're the holy cows who can never go to the courts.
You made your point. Dr. Patra, you made your point. Let Professor Gowda of the Congress respond to some of the things that you're making. Before that, Professor Gowda, a question from me as well. You know, if you have the proof, why don't you put it forward? If you think that the government, the BJP is targeting members of the Congress, then if you have the proof, put it to the forefront so that everyone can see it.
2 points I wanted to make. First, my friend Sambit Patra is totally misinterpreting Srimati Sonia Gandhi's statement. Her point was that if anyone is trying to threaten her, trying to frighten her, she has the courage. She is not only Sonia Gandhi, she is also Indira Gandhi's daughter-in-law and can take on any challenge anyone throws at her. It has nothing to do with saying that a different set of laws should apply to one person or another family. It has to do with the courage that the Gandhi family has demonstrated historically and continues to demonstrate. Now, coming to the second point that you were raising, proof about misuse of official machinery is very difficult to procure. And what we have so far is Dr. Swamy's letters to the Prime Minister and then changes in the enforcement director's position. So we have to infer a pattern of cause and effect from that. If you say, come on, show me the proof that the Prime Minister said Dr. Swamy has dictated to me, that kind of proof is difficult to get to obtain. But you will understand that we can see a cause and effect and a pattern, and we can see that when they try to shield Vasundhara Raje and especially Shivraj Singh Chauhan and what did they say? The Venkaiah Naidu came out and said nobody has done anything illegal or immoral. Please, if you saw the charges against Sushma Swaraj that were laid out in the House and outside as well, those are all clear instances of criminality, violation of Prevention of Corruption Act, numerous things. Vasundhara Raje herself, when filing some affidavit for Lalit Modi, said, please keep this suppressed, don't let it be revealed, because she knows what would happen if that were revealed. So that's, and then in Vyapam, you have deaths happening across the country, most recently in Orissa of a forest officer who was involved in the case in some way, and it is therefore a national issue. And instead of bringing it up and taking action, you pronounce them as nothing illegal or immoral. You have Chhattisgarh PDS scandal that's going on. You have a mining scandal in Rajasthan. There is no shortage. I have seen the BJP's scandals in Karnataka. You know, the amount of loot and what the Reddy brothers indulged in and what Yediyurappa indulged in. The BJP is steeped head to toe in corruption. Ask them where they get the money from. You know, and that's the sort of situation that we face. But no action is taken on these people because they happen to be ruling party. Instead, vendetta politics against all of us on the basis of the fact that opposition needs to be suppressed.
Let's now refocus.
A lot of the points that Sambit Patra raised about the judge's pronouncement, etc., when it goes to the court, whether the judge was right or wrong will be determined there. We have highest respect for the judicial process, and that process will reveal the truth of this matter and will reveal the utter hollowness of the claims that are being made by the BJP and its leaders, the loose language of mud that they're trying to throw at us, and that's really one of the key purposes of this whole thing, which is to keep throwing mud at us. You
made your point. We're running out of time.
From their lack of governance, their inability to provide the kind of growth that India needs, their inability to deliver on their extravagant promises.
You made your point.
That is why they're trying to distract.
Professor Gowda, you made your point. I'd like to bring in a neutral into the debate right now, because we seem to be indulging in a mudslinging here in our on our discussion as well. Mr. K.V. Prasad, some points that were raised were of course valid. Do you believe that some of these cases, like the Vyapam scam, or for that matter, the Lalit Modi issue and all of those other issues too, do you believe that the government has dealt with it in the right way, or do you believe that the Congress has an issue raising some of these cases and saying that the Congress is being targeted?
There are two things. A party in opposition has a right to point certain issues as they want to and say these things are not happening. It's like blowing the whistle or putting up the red flags. That's fair enough. But how do you judge? Judgments is to be taken by the courts. I mean, if you go. There are two issues: the political set of issues and the cases or the judicial which have fallen. Some of them get intermeshed at some point of time, as we are seeing in many of these issues that you're referring to. But my larger question has been, I've been noticing, covering Parliament for more than 20 years. Between 1999 and 2050, you close your eyes, you can't make a difference. The opposition remains the same, the government remains the same. And I can tell you for sure, there were times...
And that's not a good trend.
I can tell you one more thing. In 2004, when the disruptions were going on, I heard members of the then opposition party come and tell us in private they were not agreeable to what is happening in the House, but the larger party dictates. Similarly now, we've heard members of the opposition party come and tell us, sharing a view that they don't agree what's happening in the House, but larger party dictates. So this is something which is what is distressing. This is where we see, some of them were ministers earlier and some of them are ministers now.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, as journalists, we get to hear these voices.
Indeed. And someone who's covered Parliament so extensively, you get to hear this more often than others.
Yeah.
I'm running out of time on the program, so I want to get final comments from all my guests, starting with you, Dr. Patra. Final comments very quickly.
See, I've never seen such kind of intolerance towards a judicial verdict. Why being intolerant towards a judgment? Please, if you have a legal issue, sort it out legally. Please don't cry rhetorics. In fact, I'm reminded of the Indian Express headlines about 2 days ago, when they rightly pointed out this heralds the headache. And today what we are seeing on the floor of the Parliament is probably the frustration of the headache, which has already been heralded.
Okay. Mr. KTS Tulsi, final comments from you.
You see, I want to request Mr. Sambit Patra and the BJP to take the bigger picture. What is this case all about? This case is nothing which they are going to town with. This case is only showing Congress in good light that they bailed out the newspaper in spite of the fact, and they had to bail it out, and the newspaper couldn't run, they couldn't get advertisements, nothing of the sort. And
for the Congress party.
Just a minute. And the case against the chief ministers of Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh and the central ministers is
Okay.
far more
Mr. Kul-
serious.
Mr. Tulsi, I'd like to get a comment from Professor Gowda as well.
So
Professor
Congress
Gowda,
believes
very briefly, your final
a
thoughts.
political party is entitled a political party is entitled to adopt a strategy of going to the people instead of going to the court.
Okay.
It's for the
You made your
government
point.
to have taken action.
Mr. Tulsi, you've made your point. I'm completely out of time. So, Professor Gowda, very quickly, very briefly, in 10 seconds, your final comments.
Democracy is in danger with this kind of political vendetta politics that is being practiced by the BJP from the highest levels down. And it is because of this, to save democracy, that we are out there protesting and demanding that the government change its behavior.
All right. On that note, we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Rajeev Gowda, Sambit Patra, KTS Tulsi and KV Prasad, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with me on the program and sharing your views on this very subject. That's all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching. See you again next time.